back to the College Basketball Bracket Science Podcast. I'm Brandon Jadich. I am your host for today. I appreciate you guys being here. It really means a lot. Before we jump into anything, let's dive into a poll question real quick. Comment on the poll below or vote if you're on audio. The question is, how far will you take UConn in your bracket this year? The options: Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, National Championship. Go ahead, go down and vote. Really curious. This UConn team, obviously spectacular. Just picked up that big win over Marquette, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. While you're down there voting on the poll, please subscribe. We really appreciate it. This is continuing to grow. Y'all are awesome for that. Really appreciate it. Go down there if you're new here. Subscribe, like, comment, do whatever you can. A little bit of what we're going to be talking about today. You can see it on the side with the new layout. Hopefully you like that, where we have the highlights of our show. We're going to talk about some of the results of the weekday games, some of the conference tournament results. We're into conference play finally. And then just obviously some of the big results, some of the ranked teams. We're going to talk about some of the stats you're going to want to know for March Madness. And in terms of KenPom, some of the KenPom teams who are efficient on both sides, some of the ones where you might be surprised where, yikes, they're bad on offense, they're bad on defense. We're going to talk about that. Of course, we'll talk about some of our bracketology. We just released it yesterday. Washington State lost yesterday. We're going to talk about that game. So they're going to drop in our bracketology, but that's about the only minor error we have right now. If you want to check that out, go check it out on our Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll link it below. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the last weekend of college basketball this season. We're going to preview some of those. Remember that slate we said that might have been the best slate of all time, all those top 10 matchups: Kentucky, Tennessee, Kansas, Houston, UNC, Duke, Purdue, Wisconsin. Well, we have all of those games again this weekend. This is the second part of that. Yet these games, some of them are for conference titles. Some of them are for just bragging rights in general. A lot of them are still in the top 10. It's getting crunch time. These games mean even more. The slate might be even more loaded than that Saturday. The rankings might not be, but there's also conference tournaments going on and some of that stuff. So it's obviously a huge weekend in college basketball. So let's quickly just go through some of the results. We're going to talk about games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's currently Friday afternoon. So let's go all the way back to Monday. We're not gonna talk too much about some of these games. Like number 9 Duke went and beat NC State 79-64. It's expected. Not much to talk about there. Texas went to number 11 Baylor. Baylor beat them 93-85. This game is very important because Texas, they led 66-54 with 14 minutes left, and then Dylan Dessou suffered a knee injury, and this just started a run for Baylor, so something to keep an eye on, Dylan Dessou. Baylor came all the way back. The line ended up being -7.5. Baylor was favored. They ended up winning by 8, so a nice cover there. Bad beat if you had Texas plus 7.5. For Texas, Max Absmith, he had 33 points. Jalen Bridges, though, for Baylor was a story. Career high, 32 points, 6 of 7 from 3. Good stuff there for Baylor. Baylor actually jumped to a 2 seed at that point, but with Iowa State's win over BYU, we moved Iowa State back up to the 2 line. We'll talk about that here in a bit. Let's move on to Tuesday. Tuesday and Wednesday had loaded games. Let's get through these quickly. Number 3 Purdue went and visited number 12 Illinois, beat them 77-71. Braden Smith, he had a huge 3 at the end of the game. Zach Edey, 28 points, 8 rebounds, just what you'd expect. Marcus Domask, he led Illinois, 20 points. Terrence Shannon didn't play great, but this clinched back-to-back Big Ten titles for Purdue. Purdue is underrated. They're winning games every single season. I know they haven't performed in March, but back-to-back Big Ten titles, really impressive. Shouldn't take them for granted. They still have the best resume in college basketball right now. Let's move on. Number 16, Alabama went and lost at Florida, 105-87. Florida unranked right now. Our last show was about some of the fraud teams in college basketball. If you haven't watched that, go take a look at it. Alabama was one of the teams on the list, and this kind of just proved it a little bit. Losing by 18 points. I did expect Florida to win, but 18 points, that's a lot. Will Richard, Walter Clayton Jr. combined for 45 points for Florida. People are starting to get on the Florida train. I've had a Final Four ticket for Florida for a while now. People are starting to really come around to Florida. They're one of the teams that could be one of those 6-7 seeds that makes a deep run for sure. They got the firepower. Moving on, Kansas State went and visited number 14 Kansas in that in-state rivalry game. Kansas dominated them 90-68. Just important because it kind of ended Kansas State's at-large hopes. They have some opportunities playing in the Big 12. They get Iowa State this weekend, and then they're going to, even with the win there, they're going to have to make a little run in the Big 12 tournament. Cincinnati went to Oklahoma, got beaten overtime 74-71. Cincinnati, after beating Kansas State a couple nights ago, if they'd have went on the road and beat Oklahoma, big quad one win, maybe there's a chance. They almost got it done in this just sliver of hope, but couldn't get it done. Oklahoma too powerful in overtime there, but Cincinnati also, like Kansas State, probably going to have to run the table in the Big 12. And then Syracuse went to Clemson, got beat 90-75. This about does it for Syracuse's at-large hopes, unless they maybe make the ACC championship game. But even then, it's up for grabs. They're in the 80s of the net. Then in the Mountain West, Nevada went to Boise State and beat them 76-66. Thanks to Hunter McIntosh, 26 points off the bench, 9 of 11 from the field, 6 of 6 from three. Nevada is blazing hot right now. They've won 6 in a row, 9 of their last 10. In that stretch, they have road wins at Utah State, at UNLV, at Colorado State, now at Boise State. They're not just winning at home. This team is really good. They're up to a 7 seed in our bracketology as of right now. While Boise State, they just dropped from a 7 seed to an 8 seed, just kind of flip-flop there. The number 21, San Diego State, went to UNLV. UNLV beat them 62-58. UNLV also won 9 of 10. There was a 6-bid, all the conversation about the 6-bid Mountain West teams. UNLV, they probably don't have an at-large consideration right now, a couple quad 4 losses, but they're playing just as well as anyone in the conference right now. They've won 9 of 10, as mentioned. That loss was to Nevada, which we talked about, and guess what? Next game for UNLV is at Nevada, looking to get some revenge. The Mountain West standings incredibly close. Utah State still leads 13-4. One game back is UNLV, Nevada, Boise State, all one game back of the Pac-12. San Diego State's a game behind that. They don't have a chance to win it this year. Let's move into some of the conference tournaments. Actually, just one conference tournament we want to talk about was just the ASUN tournament on Tuesday night, because there were back-to-back upsets. Jacksonville went and beat top-seeded Eastern Kentucky. Jacksonville, the 10 seed. This game was at Eastern Kentucky, won 67-65, and North Alabama went and beat Lipscomb 77-75. North Alabama being the 6 seed, Lipscomb being the 3 seed, but was tied for the favorite with Eastern Kentucky to come out of this conference tournament. With remember, they beat Florida State at Florida State earlier in the year, kind of put the world on notice. But North Alabama and Jacksonville took those two teams down. Let's move into Wednesday. Number 2 UConn at number 8 Marquette. This was the game of the night. Yet it really wasn't a game. His final score was UConn 74, Marquette 67. Wasn't that close. It was kind of a blowout the whole way. Marquette fought back at the end. This is UConn's first AP Top 25 road win since 2014. Doesn't seem like that can even be possible because they've won national championships in that span, but this is their first time beating an AP Top 25 team on the road since 2014. It was without Tyler Kolek for Marquette, their best player, their most important player, previous Big East Player of the Year. But UConn just controlled the entire game. Alex Karaban, 23 points, 5 and 9 from 3. I mean, there's just not much more you can say about UConn. They're incredible. They're so good. Dan Hurley, incredible job. Moving on, another ranked-on-ranked matchup. Number 4 Tennessee went and beat number 17 South Carolina, got their revenge at South Carolina. Final score, Tennessee 66, South Carolina 59. Tennessee clinches the SEC regular season with this win. Impressive stuff. Dalton Connect, what else can you say about this guy? 26 points, 5 threes in this game. They're a 1 seed right now. Tennessee is our last number 1 seed, and they got it pretty solidified as of right now. They'll have to lose right away in the conference tournament to probably drop from 1 seed. Although they do get Kentucky, still quad 1, so we'll see. But they're pretty solid in that 1 spot right now. Last ranked on ranked matchup we want to talk about: number 20 BYU visiting number 6 Iowa State. Iowa State won the game 68-63, but BYU led by 11 at the half. But it was Taman Lipsey, Curtis Jones knocking down 3 threes apiece for Iowa State. BYU is really impressive. I was impressed by BYU in this one. I mean, obviously no one wins at Hinkle, but BYU leading by 11 at the half, but Iowa State's defense just spectacular, especially in the second half. We'll talk a little bit about Iowa State here in a little bit. And then a double bubble game we just got to mention, Villanova at Seton Hall. Final score, Seton Hall 66, Villanova 56. Nova was a 10 seed, believe it or not. They had won 5 of 6, and Seton Hall was an 11 seed. Both teams getting buys. Now they just switch. Seton Hall up to a 10, Nova an 11 seed. Actually, one of our first 4 teams. There's questions about Nova's ability to score. I guess I mean, 56 points. This one, they're a good defensive team. We'll also get in a little bit deeper to Villanova come our stat topic. And then also out of the Big East, another bubble game. Xavier lost at Butler 72-66. Butler's at-large hopes hanging on by a thread. They're going to need to make a run though in the Big East tournament. Probably win at least make it to the championship. Maybe the semis. We'll see. Mississippi State went to Texas A&M. Texas A&M picked up a much-needed win, 75-69. Also just kind of hanging on by a thread. Mississippi State inching towards the bubble. They've been struggling as of late. Still a 10 seed, one of our last 4 buys. But Texas A&M, they needed this win. We'll see. They're going to need to make a little run in the SEC tournament, I think, to get in that large. Then Northwestern went to Michigan State, got beat 53-49. Michigan State actually trailed at the half 25-20. Yikes, low scoring half, but they found a way to win. Shout out Tom Izzo. They're going to be in March again. This broke a 3-game losing streak. You lose 4 in a row with 3 of them being at home. I mean, they lost to Iowa and Ohio State at home. If you lose to Northwestern at home, yeah, that doesn't look too good for the committee, but they got the job done here. I fully expect to see Tom Izzo's squad in March. Number 1, Houston went and beat UCF 67-59. Just important because Houston, remember it was Purdue having the most wins in the country, or most quad 1 wins in the country, excuse me, then UConn, then Houston. Houston actually now has the most quad 1 wins in the country. It goes Houston, Purdue, UConn with this win over UCF. So interesting stuff. That's just the beauty of playing in the Big 12. So that 1 seed, overall number 1 seed just gets tighter and tighter. It's still Purdue. They have the best body of work right now, but Houston with the most quad 1 wins. And then FAU went to North Texas and beat them 80-76. This is not a game you want to see if you're FAU. You're kind of crawling. We have them on the 10 line right now, one of our last 4 buys. Last team you want to play is at North Texas. It's actually a quad 2 game, but North Texas could be quad 1 good. They're pretty talented, but this was a big win for FAU to pull it out. This should get them in the tournament. Then the last game we want to talk about means nothing for bubble implications. Minnesota and Indiana both have no chance of getting an at-large bid. But we do have some news out of there. Indiana beat Minnesota at Minnesota 70-58. First off, Indiana's playing pretty good right now. Let's give them some credit. Story was Mike Woodson being renewed for another year. He will be back next year. They announced it. Shout out to Ohio State, my Buckeyes. That means it looks like you got a great chance to get Dusty May. That's what it seems as of right now. I can't believe Mike Woodson's going to be back to Indiana, especially with all the talk. Dusty May wants to go to Indiana, and then you're just going to let him go to Ohio State. I thought it's interesting, especially all the talent they have on this team. They've been bad. They are playing better as of late. Maybe that saved them, but not quite sure. But maybe sprinkle a little ticket on Indiana to win the Big Ten tournament. They're playing. I mean, it's just if there wasn't Purdue for sure, but Purdue's just so good. So we'll see. Maybe they don't match up with Purdue if Purdue were to get beat by someone else. But Indiana playing well, surprising. Mike Woodson will be back. Get Dusty May to the Buckeyes. Come on now, Ohio State. Let's move on to Thursday. A lot of Pac-12 action. Just a couple quick results. Number 5, Arizona went and beat UCLA at UCLA 88-65. Expected. Not going to talk about that. What is surprising, though, Washington went to Washington State. Number 18, Washington State. Beat them 74-68. Rivalry game. Big stuff there for Washington. Huge win. Colorado went to Oregon and beat them 79-75. Colorado is one of those teams that's fluctuating like last team in, first team out. This was a huge quad 1 win for them to go and beat Oregon. They knew they needed to get it done, and they did. Oregon's officially off the bubble. They're going to need to win the Pac-12 tournament. Colorado, a couple notes, they're 29th in the net right now. No team under 31 has ever been left out of the tournament. So that's something to note. I know they haven't been great in Pac-12, but that they're close. Not quite sure what to do with them. Last team in, first team out. It's really close. Them, Villanova, St. John's, Providence. Oh, it's about as close as you can get when doing their resumes. One that is not close anymore. Utah visited Oregon State. got beat 92-85. Oregon State is in last place in the Pac-12, for those who don't know. Utah just falling off of, I hope they're falling off of the bubble. They somehow seem to, they blow out bad teams typically. So that's why they're kind of high at the net, high at KenPom, but they stink. They're no good. I'll be disappointed if they end up in the tournament, if they get the benefit of the doubt, because they're sub 500 in the Pac-12. Pac-12's not good outside of Arizona and Colorado and Washington State. So, yeah, I hope they don't end up in the tournament. I don't think they deserve it. This kind of just solidifies that they don't deserve to be in the tournament. Now let's talk about the ASUN results. We talked about that already. Give ASUN a little bit of credit. North Alabama, America's team, lost at Austin Peay 77-71 in the semifinals. Austin Peay moves on to the championship, and Stetson beat Jacksonville thanks to a last-second three-pointer to move Stetson to the championship. Stetson versus Austin Peay will be your ASUN championship game. That's all the games we want to talk about today. A lot of interesting results. Next, we're going to talk about some of those stats in terms of KenPom that you're going to want to know. Then we're going to get into our bracketology and the games to watch. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to Fanatics. Fanatics provides the best sports gear for fans around the world. See this hoodie right here, this Kansas hoodie? Nice looking hoodie, eh? Fanatics brand. It's really nice. They have great quality, great customer service. They're always running deals. Right now, you can get free shipping with code 24SHIP at checkout. Check out Fanatics below. The link is in the description. Claim your free shipping. Get geared up for March Madness. It's almost that time. Look at this hoodie. It looks nice, doesn't it? I'm not going to keep trying to brag about it, but it's a good looking hoodie. They provide such quality gear. I highly recommend that you check it out. That's code 24SHIP. Link is in the description. All right, let's move on. Now, the first stat we want to talk about, these are stats that are very important. If you don't know what KenPom is, KenPom ranks teams based on efficiency. They do offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency. They do luck. They're the ones who come out with the lines that a lot of the sportsbook use. Like you'll see in the when I give the early lines for some of the Saturday, Sunday games, it's because of KenPom. KenPom is a very good predictive. All the teams use it. Everyone uses it. Fully recommend going and checking out the KenPom website. It's incredible. So a big trend in March Madness has always been you want to be inside the top 25 of both offensive and defensive efficiency. Those are what the best teams, the teams that perform in March, always typically seem to have. And I'm just going to label some of the teams with that are inside the top 25 offensive and defensive. And then we're going to talk about some teams that may be really good offensively and then really bad defensively, and then vice versa. Really good defensively, really bad offensively. So these rankings are very accurate. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not just trying to talk up KenPom. They do a very good job. Let's start with there's 10 teams inside the top 25 of both offensive and defensive. Let's start with Purdue. Purdue, we're just going to go down the list. These are ranked in order of offensive first, just to label it. Purdue's second in offensive efficiency in the nation, 20th in defensive efficiency. They got all the pieces. They can win a national title. Same goes for UConn. Third in offense, 14th in defense. They're so balanced, really good. Two teams kind of flying under the radar who have very good metrics, Arizona and Duke. Yes, they played earlier in the year, and Arizona beat Duke. Arizona is currently 6th in offense, 15th in defense, while Duke is 7th in offense, 22nd in defense. Those two teams. These top 25, just another reminder, top 25 is like you scream national championship if you're in the top 25 of both. Creighton, 11th in offense, 24th in defense. Houston, 12th in offense. Yes, 12th in offense, first in defense, obviously. Best defensive team in the country. I just want to take a little note on Houston right here. I'd say the main storylines of this college basketball season for some of these big brands, it's been Kentucky can't guard, Alabama also can't guard, and then Houston can't score the ball. That's incorrect. I saw Seth Greenberg say something on ESPN the other day. He's like, I have a lot of concerns. I'm just paraphrasing. He said he has a lot of concerns about Houston because they stall on offense sometimes. They can't score. They're 12th in the nation in offense, and that's with the best defense in the country. They slow things down. They get into their offense. They don't need to run and gun because their defense is so good. Yes, every once in a while, but their offense is good. 12th in the nation, that's good. I mean, Jamal Shed, LJ Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, Juwan Roberts, they've got all the talent. They are a legit national title contender. I know people keep saying that their offense just gets stuck in place, but 12th in the nation, what more can you ask for? They've Everyone loves Dalton Connect, and they're like, yeah, they have the pieces. They're 20th in the nation in offense, so that should just kind of tell you. The next, let's mention Tennessee real quick. They're 20th in the nation in offense, and then third in the nation in defense. So they're right there. And then Auburn, 14th in the nation in offense, fifth in defense. Really, really good metrics. That's why you'll find them so high at KenPom, so high in the net. They're really good. Marquette, 22nd in offense, 16th in defense. North Carolina, 25th in offense, sixth in defense. Yes, that North Carolina defense is incredibly, incredibly good this year. Now let's look at some of the big disparities. These are some of the teams you might want to stay away from in making a big run. Starting with Alabama. Alabama has the number one offense in the country. They're 108th in defense. Now this ranks all 300 and whatever, how many teams there are, 360 teams in college basketball. They are 108th. Now, a team that you might not expect, they've just kind of been flying under the radar a little bit all year, and then I see them everywhere on people's Final Four picks. And I'm not hating against it, but just something you should know. Illinois is fourth in offense, 103rd in defense. You know who's got a better defense than Illinois? Kentucky. Kentucky, eighth in offense, 99th in defense. Now, Illinois is, we know Terrence Shannon, Marcus Domask, Coleman Hawkins, great players, great players. Throw Justin Harmon in there. They're great. They have a ton of offensive firepower, but they're not conversated enough about how bad their defense really is. I mean, Kentucky, all the storylines on Kentucky, yeah, they can score whenever they want, but why are they getting hated on defensively if they're better defensively than Illinois? Illinois has been ranked higher than Kentucky, so not trying to bad talk them, but just something to note with Kentucky. The most surprising stat I think is that they're eighth offensively. I would have said that they're second. I mean, Purdue's second, UConn's third. I mean, just with Kentucky's firepower, I thought they would be top four at least. But eighth, I mean, it's still obviously really good. I mean, you're the eighth best offensive team in the country, but that's why everyone keeps picking them. They're like, yeah, Kentucky, Final Four, national champion. They got the best offense. They have the eighth best offense and the 99th best defense. So another team to note is Baylor. Baylor is fifth in offense. Uh, 75th in defense. So not as big a disparity as Alabama, Illinois, and Kentucky, but their defense has been playing better as of late. But you always see this with Scott Drew teams when they won that national championship a couple years ago. Davion Mitchell, he was the best defender in college basketball. So they don't really have that this year. They're getting better, but still fifth in offense. Still a great team. And then Iowa, you might not see Iowa in the tournament. They're close. They're a bubble team. Ninth in offense, they can really score the ball. Tony Perkins, Peyton Sanford, Josh Dix, 165th in defense. Yikes, rough stuff there. But they're close. They got a game with Illinois. We'll talk about that. Yes, Illinois 104th in defense. Iowa 165th in defense. So that might be a fun watch. Florida 15th in the nation in offense, 78th in defensive efficiency. Florida, we talked about them enough already. I'm still bought in on Florida, 78th in defense. A little scary. I don't think they're going to win the national title or anything, but I think they're good and they got some firepower. FAU, Florida Atlantic, 17th in the nation in offensive efficiency, 100th in defensive efficiency. There's been a lot of talk on FAU. Are they as good as they were last year? It might be more of a mindset thing. They were the hunter last year. Now they're the hunted. Everyone wants to beat the defending Final Four team. Should have been the national championship if it wasn't for a Lamont Butler buzzer beater. But FAU, right. We'll determine what their status is come March. We'll see how they do. That's the offensively good teams. Let's move into the defensively good teams that you might not think are as bad on offense as they actually are. Let's start with Iowa State. Iowa State's on everyone's radar right now. They're the second best defense in the nation, right behind Houston. They're 69th in offense. I didn't think it would be that low. I thought they'd be maybe 35 to 40 range. 69th. I know they struggle sometimes. That just kind of shows how good their defense is. They've won a lot of really close games too. Iowa State, they're on. A lot of people are saying, yeah, they're national title contenders. Yeah, with the 69th best offense, Yeah, you got to score the ball at some point. Yes, their defense is great, but I have a lot more faith in Houston going forward than Iowa State, which should be fairly obvious. But been seeing a lot of people saying Iowa State to the national championship. They're good. They're really good. I love what TJ Otzelberger's done over there. But Iowa State 69th in offense. Keep that in mind. Now, the worst offensive team we're going to talk about on here, Virginia. Virginia is still in our tournament as of right now. No, I do not think they're good. They do still have a tournament resume. They're ninth in defense. We see that every year from Tony Bennett squads. 193rd in offense. That's the bottom half. This includes SWAC teams, MEAC teams, Mid American teams. It's every team. They're 193rd. Yikes. So I wouldn't recommend taking Virginia to win a game unless they get a great matchup in the first round. If they even get there, you never know. And then Villanova 68th in offense, 13th in defense. That's kind of why they play just some ugly basketball. They're a very good defensive team, but still going to put the ball in the hoop. Mississippi State 66th in offense, 18th in defense, and Providence 125th in offense, 19th in defense. This might be the most surprising one. I know their offense isn't spectacular, but Devin Carter, Josh Odura, I thought they would crack the top 100. I know they lost Bryce Hopkins, but that was a very surprising one to me. So that's some of the games or some of the teams and statistics that you might want to know. It's coming down to time to fill out those brackets. So stats like these are actually they're very they're very accurate in terms of where the teams may finish in March. All right, that's it for that. Let's move into our bracketology. We just released our bracketology yesterday. So Washington State, of course, lost last night, so they're going to have to switch. I'm pulling up the graphic here for you guys. The one seeds are obvious. It's Purdue, UConn, Houston, Tennessee. No doubt. I think the two seeds are actually fairly obvious as well. Arizona, North Carolina, Iowa State, and Marquette. You can maybe throw Baylor in there instead of Marquette, but I still believe it's Marquette. Three seeds, Baylor, Creighton, Duke, Kansas. I think that's fairly obvious as well. Then the four seeds, Illinois, Kentucky, Alabama, and San Diego State. Yes, San Diego State is still there ahead of Auburn. Getting a lot of questions on Auburn as a five seed, but they still have one quadrant one win. It's March 8th and you have one quadrant one win. You don't deserve to be anything higher than a five seed. BYU, South Carolina after that, while Washington State, they'll drop to probably the 7 line after that home loss. Probably move Dayton up to a 5 seed, believe it or not. Dayton's resume is better than you think. I know they haven't beaten the best teams, but they haven't lost to anyone bad. I quite frankly don't think they're great either, but I think I'd have them as a 5 seed right now. We're not going to go through all of these, but we will talk a little bit about the bubble. Our last four buys: Mississippi State, Florida Atlantic, Michigan State, and Seton Hall. Seton Hall, our last bye, with our first four games being Virginia versus Villanova. Yikes. That would be an ugly basketball game. St. John's versus New Mexico. New Mexico still hanging on by a thread. We're going to talk about them here in a little bit. A few things to just look at for the higher seeds, some of the Cinderella teams. I did put Toledo in the 14 spot instead of Akron. Akron was there, and then Akron was favored by 21.5 points at home versus Eastern Michigan and lost. So that's not what you want to see going into March. So I give Toledo the upper hand there now. And then Oakland in the 15 spot. Youngstown State got beat last night, so they're done. Put Oakland in there, and then Stetson as a play-in game instead of Eastern Kentucky. So good for Stetson. They still have that championship game, so it's not a for sure thing, but we'll see how that looks going forward. That's our bracketology. Let me get the graphic off of here. Now let's move on to some of the games to watch this weekend. This is what you're here for. Give you some of the opening lines. Now let's start with those huge games that we talked about. They're on the graphic of this video. They're massive. It's the last game of the year, so all the best teams are playing the other best teams in the conference. Let's start at 4 o'clock. It's a double header at 4 o'clock. Why would they schedule both of these games at the same time? Get that YouTube TV multi-view. Number 14, Kansas at number 1, Houston. Houston favored by 10. This game's on ESPN. When's the last time Kansas been a 10-point underdog? I think that's too many points. I would take Kansas to cover 10. Houston, I 100% think is better, but 10 points for Kansas and Bill Self. I'll take them to cover, but if Houston wins by double figures, good on them. Also at 4 o'clock, number 15 Kentucky at number 4 Tennessee. Tennessee favored by 9. This game is on CBS. Tennessee already clinched, as we mentioned. You still want to beat your rival. You want to beat Kentucky. You're supposed to be the top dogs in your conference, but without playing for as much, I think Tennessee can definitely, Kentucky can definitely stay within 9. I would think, right? I'll take Kentucky to cover the 9. Now the big one, the game that never fails at 6:30, the game day game. Number 7 North Carolina at number 9 Duke, obviously on ESPN. Duke favored by 4 via KenPom. Duke's been playing well as of late, especially after that Wake Forest loss. UNC's been fading a little bit. They're kind of hitting a rough start or a rough stretch. I think I'll take Duke to cover the 4 in this game. I think they just even it up. I think Duke is playing extremely well. Give me Duke to cover the 4 in this one. Few other games to note around the nation on Saturday. Memphis at FAU at noon on CBS. FAU favored by 7. This might be a game, first one to 100. At 2 o'clock, Oklahoma at Texas. Texas favored by 5. This game's on ESPN. Two probably 8 or 9 seed teams. I think Texas covers 5 in that one. 2 o'clock, Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Desperation time for both teams on CBS. Ole Miss favored by 1 via KenPom. I'll probably take A&M to win that game. I think they're better than Ole Miss, but A&M has disappointed me a lot this year. So we'll see about that one. At 2 o'clock, number 6 Iowa State at Kansas State. We talked about this game earlier. This game's on ESPN2. Iowa State favored by 6 via KenPom. Kansas State, desperation mode, need to pick up that win. I'll take them to cover 6. At 2:30, number 10, Creighton at Villanova. This game's on Fox. Creighton is favored by 1 via KenPom. I think Villanova brings out an upset here. Villanova needs it bad. Creighton, I mean, what are you really playing for right now? You're second in the Big East. I'm not sure how the Big East tournament does, if second gets a bye, so maybe they will be playing for something. But I think Villanova needs it more, obviously, to get in the tournament. I'll take Villanova to win that one. At 2:30, number 17, South Carolina at Mississippi State. On the SEC Network, Mississippi State favored by 4. Tough game to pick here. I'd probably stay away from this game, but South Carolina coming off a loss, so is Mississippi State coming off a couple losses. We'll see about that one. I'd stay away from that. I don't like that line whatsoever. At 5:30, number 8, Marquette at Xavier. This game's on Fox. Marquette favored by 3. No Kolek, reminder. He's going to be out until they're going to reevaluate him in the Big East tournament. So bear in mind there, I'd still probably take Marquette to win the game. Xavier's about done, so give me that one. Now, a couple games at 6 o'clock, I fully encourage everyone to tune into. I mean, obviously watch North Carolina Duke. You have to watch that game, but have them on another TV. Have them on your phone somewhere. At 6 o'clock, Clemson at Wake Forest. This is a very, very interesting game. This game's on the ACC Network. Wake Forest is favored by 3. Wake Forest needs this game 100%. They need this game to get in the tournament. If they lose this game, they're going to have to win the ACC tournament, I think, or at least make the championship game. Lost a couple bad games. They just lost at home to Georgia Tech, which you can't do. Clemson is safely in the field. We have them as a 6 seed. So Wake Forest needs it. And with that being said, they play their competition. I think I'll take Wake Forest in this one. At 6 o'clock, number 11, Baylor at Texas Tech. Another extremely fun one. KenPom rates this as the number 1 exciting one, or the most exciting game of Saturday, believe it or not. Baylor favored by 1. This game's on ESPN2. I'll take Texas Tech at home. I think Texas Tech gets it done. At 8 o'clock, number 2, UConn at Providence. UConn favored by 8. This game's on Fox. That's too many points. UConn already secured the Big East. Providence needs it bad. One of those first couple teams out, last couple teams in. They need it. Plus 8 for sure. Give me Providence. At 8:30, New Mexico at number 22, Utah State. This game's on CBS Sports Network. Utah State favored by 2. This is an interesting matchup because Utah State with the win gets first place of the Mountain West regular season. New Mexico may need a win to stay in the tournament this year, so that'll be interesting to watch. And then also out of the Mountain West at 10:30, UNLV at Nevada. We talked about this game. It's on CBS Sports Network. Nevada favored by 7. 9 of 10 wins for both teams. One of them's gonna lose. Nevada beat them at UNLV. I'll take Nevada. Nevada blazing hot. And then we just want to mention a few games on Sunday, some of the conference tournament games. At 12 o'clock is the Big South final game. This is on ESPN2. Hopefully, it's High Point versus UNC Asheville. Those are the 2 best teams in the conference. All the games are played at High Point this year, which was actually just by coincidence, not just because they're the number 1 seed. But I'll take I have High Point to win the Big South. I mean, strictly. I mean, you have to. Number one seed playing all their games at home. So hopefully it's High Point versus UNC Asheville. Those two teams are really good. At 2 o'clock is the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament Final. Hopefully, it's on CBS. First off, hopefully it's Indiana State versus Drake. That game never fails. Both those teams. There is a scenario where if it were Indiana State versus Drake and Drake wins, maybe Indiana State could squeeze in as an at-large. Maybe two bid Missouri Valley. It's not out of the question. Wouldn't say it's likely, but maybe. And then also at 2 o'clock, the ASUN tourney final. Austin P at Stetson on ESPN. Stetson's favored by 4. Stetson we have in our bracketology just because they're favored. That'll be a fun watch. That'll be a good game to watch. Always fun to see these. Love seeing some of these small teams on the big stage on the ESPNs, on the CBSs. Pretty cool. A few other games on Sunday worth noting. 12:30 Wisconsin at number 3 Purdue. Purdue favored by 11. This game's on Fox. Wisconsin, if you don't know, they still stink. They were down 7 in the second half to Rutgers. They didn't end up pulling out a win and actually covering, so good for Wisconsin. But they're still not very good right now. I'll take Purdue to cover 11. And then Michigan State at Indiana at 4:30. Michigan State's favored by 4 via KenPom. This game's on CBS. With a win, Michigan State is safe. Michigan State will be in the tournament if they win, even if they lose the first game of Big Ten tournament. So big game here. Big game for Mike Woodson. Can he go into the Big Ten tournament with some good mojo? And the last game at 7 o'clock, probably the most fun game to watch on Sunday, I would say. Number 12, Illinois at Iowa on FS1. Illinois favored by 3. Game might be 110 to 105. Neither team play defense. Both teams can score the ball. Iowa on the wrong side of the bubble right now. This is the game right in front of them. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better game. An Illinois team that is, I think, a little bit overvalued. They're number 12 in the AP poll right now. I don't think they're a 12th best resume for sure. So they got the game they need right in front of them. Get it done, and Iowa might squeeze in. That's it. Those are all the games to watch. Hopefully the KenPom lines give you a little feel of what you might want to do for some betting advice. That's it for the rest of the show. I think that's a show for the day. Appreciate everyone for sticking with me here. It's almost time. It's almost March Madness Selection Sunday. What is it? 9 days? A week and 2 days? 9 days away. Very exciting. We will have another podcast late Sunday night. You'll be able to hear it Monday. I'll schedule it for Monday morning. We'll release. We'll talk about all those conference tournament. All the brackets will be out by then. So all the conference tournaments, we'll dive into every single one of them. Obviously, FanDuel, DraftKings, everyone's got those. Who's going to win the conference tournament bets? Maybe we'll even throw in some best bets in there. Before I lose you, vote in the poll. Remember to vote in the poll. How far do you see UConn going this year? While you're down there, please subscribe if you enjoyed it. You want to be caught up on your college basketball. Please subscribe. Give us a like. Let us know you are here. Give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links are in the description. It's also, if you just want to search it up, at Bracket Science, 2 S's. Comment on all. Comment on Instagram. Comment on Twitter. Comment on TikTok. Comment on YouTube. Whatever you want to do. We really appreciate it. Love interacting with everyone. That's it. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy all the great college basketball. Stay safe out there. See you later.